the prospects I'm intrigued with watching him play this spring. You mentioned, I asked you about him the other day, is Sam Hilliard.
Yeah.
And I think your comment was, but I don't think I got a recorded, was you're very impressed with some things he did, but
Some things he does.
he does.
Yeah.
But he still has some things to work
Sure.
on in terms of being the next step as a hitter.
Right.
Can you just talk a little bit about that and what progression you guys would like to see next?
Well, I think with Sam, if you grade out his tools, I mean, you can say that he has all the physical tools, right? Can run, he can throw. I think the glove works. He's got power. You put him in a batting cage or you put him on a field, and I mean, he's got raw power.
Right.
The hit for average tool is something that we'll see, right? So with that, he got up to a slow start in Double-A, but he rebounded and hit 260 to 260 in the Eastern League. The strikeouts were a little high, so I think the contact rate, if we're going to get specific here, is probably needs to improve as he ages. I mean, that's the thing. So when he hits the ball, he hits it hard, and he can potentially do a lot of damage in a ball game, and we've seen that a little bit, right? But and we also know, and he knows, and he's a smart kid, that as he gets higher, the pitching gets better. So again, I think the contact rate and the bat to ball skill will need to improve. And there's a little bit of, from the hitting side, there's some adjustments with the swing, but not a lot. I mean, he'll learn a lot of this just through experience.
So a lot of it is pitch recognition more than
Pitch recognition,
holes in his
yes,
swing.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
One more question about
And
that.
closing up those holes.
You think the fact that he wasn't a hitter till his junior year in college?
I think that's part of it, sure. Yeah, which he was a
Yeah,
big pitching
he was.
prospect, and
For a he's 6'5".
Yeah.
He moves pretty well, doesn't he, for a 6'5"?
this guy can run.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy can run. Put him in that combine that was on for like 6 days on TV. I like to see that. Our guys have talked about that now. And, the clubhouse guys talk.
Yeah.
Story, Dahl, say they would win the combine.
Did you see the film
Yeah.
where Story outran Jameis Winston in a combine, at a MLB combine?
Say what was the first part?
Not Story. It was Dahl.
What do you say?
He outran Jameis Winston at a MLB combine a few years back.
Did he?
Yeah, so the film's out there. Blew him away.
Really?
Absolutely.
Dahl can run?
Hey, wanted to ask you about another prospect. Patrick, are you down there?
I am.
Okay. Colton Welker, who showing pretty well in the big
Yeah.
league games here, and he's doing all he can do. You're sitting there as a third baseman, and your team signs the third baseman for 8 years and quite a few $1 million. Part of your evaluation, do you watch just how he reacts and how he keeps working? Because I know a lot of times you could sit there if you're in the minors and think, "Gee, I'm blocked," but
Yeah. I think that, again, I'm not in his head, but, I think this guy sees himself as a ball player. I mean, I don't think he's thinking, you can ask him, but I think, and, our messaging to him and our conversation is, he's young. What is he, 21, 20 or 21? That, he has a lot, he has a ways to go, before he ultimately gets to the major leagues. But, from what he did last year, 17 to 18, and what we've seen this spring, it's moving at a nice pace, right? I mean, he's more comfortable. Granted, he was in big league camp last year, but, he looks comfortable in there with the guys. And, talking to the hitting coaches and just from what I've seen, there's a bat to ball skill there, and there's some bat speed, and he's hit a couple homers already, and he's got some hits, and he'll continue to get some at bats here moving forward. But this guy can hit. You talk to his minor league managers and our hitting instructors in the minor leagues, they like him a lot. But third base, but hey, we'll expose him to first. third. I mean, you never know what can happen in this game, but he's a good one. He's a real good one.
Looks like his body is changing as he's growing. A big kid.
Yeah.
But a little bit more man strength coming.
Yeah, I think there's some natural strength coming. Sure, I think that's part of it, and eventually, we all remember Andres Galarraga. It could be that type of look. He's big. I mean, he's strong too, but he's got good hands and his feet work pretty well. And what's great that the first 2 weeks here, when we do our defensive work, he's right next to Nolan. He and Nolan side by side taking grounders, and how good is that for him? Is that a cool thing for this kid to see Nolan practice and he's 2 feet away? How Nolan takes a grounder, and Stu does a great job of working these guys all around the diamond, but be able to talk to Nolan and watch Nolan it's great homework.
He's just glad to talk baseball this spring.
Oh yeah, that was
His classmate was the shooter last year.
his classmate. I didn't know that. I
They
know
rode
it.
the bus to school together.
Is that right?
Well,
I know that. And obviously I know it's his school, him and Anthony Rizzo, but I didn't know it was a classmate of his.
Yeah, he told us last year they rode the bus to school together.
Wow, it's crazy. It's heavy.
Buddy, I asked you in winter meetings about what qualities you look for in a hitting coach, and that was before Mackin was hired.
Right.
What impact have you seen so far?
Well, I think his his personality, his for lack of a better word, his touch, I think, will become evident with the players. He's very soft spoken in a lot of ways, but it's a pretty impactful message that he sends, whatever that message might be to that hitter. And there's different messages obviously to each hitter, but I think he's been in their shoes. He's been in the batter's box in the big leagues. He knows what that is like. He is passionate about hitting. He loves to talk about hitting. He loves to dissect an opposing pitching staff, an opposing pitcher, to help hitters. I think there's huge credibility in his teaching. So I think what I've observed, even in the wintertime, through his conversations with players, the feedback that I've gotten, what I've seen here, hands on, he's going to be really good for our group.
Why do you think, of all the coaching jobs, hitting coach seems to be
Ooh.
17 you guys?
Ooh.
17 hitting coach changes this year?
Isn't it crazy?
Pitching coaches
Yeah.
survive, right?
Pitching coach, yeah, but there's still a little bit of turnover there as well. I think, I think in general though, right, in all leadership positions in professional sports, there's a turnover. Head coaches, managers, hitting coaches, pitching coaches, which are the sort of the two lead coaches on a coaching staff. Just the expectation level, right? The impatience, all the reasons, new voice, change of seat, change for change, all those things. It's just part of where we are in professional sports, and in a lot of cases there's a lot going on the financial side with owners and results, and seems like there's quicker to change.
Arizona fires all 3 of theirs hitting coaches.
And all 3 get jobs.
They're all 3 number 1 guys. Seattle, the Dodgers, and the Rockies.
Right.
What about the hitting coach? We've seen it grow from a one-man job to a two-man job because a lot of hitters.
Sometimes 3 and 4 man. The Angels have 3.
Yeah, I'm wondering, does it need to get to at least 3?
4? Does it need to get to 5?
I don't know.
It might get to 13. Each guy has their own guy. But that's the thing.
But, yeah, my
And here's the deal, right? And I don't want to, I'm not cutting you off from your question,
Right.
but as we all know, this is no secret that, what happens in the off season,
Mhm.
right? There's
Yeah, I'll go back.
there's
to that.
hitting coaches, and they work in, players are curious, and you also have, pitching coaches, or some stuff happening in Driveline and the ranch and some of these other facilities. But and hey, that's not to say you go back to your high school coach. Hey, how about your dad? He knows you. He's seen almost every of your bats since Little League. The dads are in there too now. Anyway, what was your question?
Well,
Did I cut you off?
does one of them have to be at some point an offensive coordinator, a game plan guy? Because
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Mags sort of refers to himself as that. Not only that, but again, I think with data, with technology, with video, with advanced scouting, with all the information available about the opposing pitcher and pitching staffs and percentages and trends and probabilities, you have to sort of coordinate all that into your advanced scouting, your pre-series meetings about what Scherzer's going to do, what Kershaw's going to do, what DeGrom's going to do, what Buehler's going to do.
it seems like
You
that's-
watch their pitches, all the TrackMan information about spin rates and top of the zone fastballs and breaking balls below the zone, and they do this, they throw this pitch on this count 70% of the time, relaying that type of information to certain players who want that type of percentage into their game. All those things. It's all part of
Is-
modern day coaching.
Is there a danger of paralysis by analysis
Yes.
in the modern era?
No doubt. Even in the era bygone, that happened.
There's so
Yeah.
much now.
It's like you're trying to, if you're a hitting coach, you're trying to take in this information and distribute it, but yet you maybe have a guy come in, hey, help me with my hand position, or help me with my step here. It just seems like
You got to be multi-talented, right? You got to be able to be that coach that, can, obviously knows a lot, whether it's the mechanic side, whether it's the analytical side, whether it's the psychology side, all those things. That's modern day coaching.
At the bigger level, you have to be more of a mental coach than maybe the minor leagues where you're trying to teach guys.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But, hitters really like to talk about their swings, and they really like to talk about mechanics, but a lot of times that isn't the case, because very rarely do you get to the big leagues with a bad swing, right?
Right.
You don't. These guys, they're the best in the world. And if you have a bad swing, you're not going to make it. So, it's common sense to me, but
But that's where you get into that mental,
yeah.
restoring their confidence in themselves.
Yeah, sometimes you have to, if a guy wants to talk about his swing, you talk about a swing, then maybe you got to shift to mental side.
Yesterday, Tinoco comes in first and third. Obviously, here's a guy who had been a starter, but kind of transition. Have you been looking for an opportunity like that for him?
Not specifically like that. Those opportunities will happen as we move forward. We're not looking for a specific opportunity. Let's say for him specifically, there have been times, obviously in spring training games, that you might look, if you're really bearing down on a certain player, whether it's a left-handed specialist, whether it's a right-handed reliever, you might want to throw him into a spring training game just to see it, right, and maybe try to do it again. But as it relates to Tinoco, not so much. But it was good to see him come in and throw 6 straight heaters with some velocity, and 4 of them strikes. I like that. Big fella. Had a good fall league. He is transitioning to a relief role, so that'll be new for him, but we think that we can handle him. We think that's where his future lies.
As a starter, he does streaks where he'd either be horrible or
Yeah,
overpowered.
his Double-A pitching lines were, on balance, pretty good. There was some, a little up and down, but he hung in there. If you look at the traditional stats, they're pretty solid. The hit per innings pitch, the walks, the strikeouts were But I think there's a little bit of upside there in the stuff and the resiliency of the arm to get into that bullpen and maybe get to the big leagues a little sooner. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.